Hello everyone, and we're back with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I'm doing Season 4, Episode 10, which is called The Double Circle. So we start with Jim finding instructions in a glove compartment again. The mission is that Victor Laszlo and his associate Ray Dunson have stolen an important fuel formula, and they intend to sell it to the UPR. The IMF must recover the formula. For the dossiers, we have the usual crew, but also guest agent Gillian. I hear her called Gillian. I don't know why it's not Jillian. I'm probably going to call her Gillian more than once because that's just the name that I'm used to. She's played by Anne Francis. And there's a fellow named Erickson who's apparently an air conditioning contractor. The apartment scene tells us that the focus will be on Laszlo's well-protected apartment and the fact that he's an avid art collector. Dunson arrives at the apartment using the private elevator to get up to the penthouse and a special handprint scanner to gain entry to the apartment itself. They discuss their plot, and Laszlo mentions he's added another security measure to the safe just today. Barney gets into the building's elevator room, pulls some switcheroos. Gillian, I'm just going to call her Gillian, visits Laszlo as an art dealer who has access to a famous piece called the Peking Buddha, hinting indirectly that it's available in exchange for the formula. Laszlo is skeptical and asks Dunson to trail her as Willie and Erickson get into the building with a big trunk. It's actually the same one as we saw in Robot, the previous episode, I checked, and they head up to the roof. Impersonating Laszlo, Paris calls Miller, the security guard, and asks him to come up, giving Jim the chance to press a button and trip the relay that Barney set earlier. We learn that the IMF has set up the 11th floor of the building to look just like the 12th. And Paris, as Laszlo, tells Miller he took care of it, go back down, but not before the machine is able to get a copy of Miller's handprints from the scanner. From the opposite building, Jim signals Willie and Eric and takes a video of Paris as Laszlo opening his safe and then using a panel to access a secret door. Dunson follows Gillian to a church where he sees Barney as a pastor, resembling the figure from the picture of the Buddha. He tells Barney he thinks that he has the Buddha, and leaves as Barney pretends to make a call to someone about his presence. Barney heads up to the 12th floor as Gillian tells Laszlo that the offer has been sweetened, including $10 million and protection from the UPR. Dunson arrives menacingly, saying that Gillian is an American agent. Gillian says that shouldn't matter, as she strategically blocks Laszlo's security TV for a few moments, allowing Barney to affix an attachment to it to mask his presence. During Gillian's conversation, keeping Laszlo busy, Willie and Erickson start burrowing through the building roof. Barney is able to use the handprints to get into the room with the safe and signals Willie and Erickson to send down a false wall for him to hide behind. Gillian is sent on her way and removes Barney's attachment as she heads out. Barney rigs up a duplicate of Laszlo's safe inside the false wall. Jim holds a gun on Dunson as he goes to his car, takes him to a room for questioning, with he and Willie posing as UPR personnel. Jim says he believes the two have made a deal with Gillian and wants to know why Laszlo moved the formula to the secret room. Dunson says he doesn't know about any secret room. Jim shows him the video of Paris as Laszlo putting the formula in the secret room safe. Dunson claims he's being duped as well, but wonders out loud about the new security measure Laszlo mentioned, worrying Jim and Willie, as Barney prepares to open the safe. Jim quickly warns Barney just in time about it, and Barney starts to check the safe but can't find anything obvious, so he has to sit and wait. Jim takes Dunson back to the apartment building, setting the relay so that he ends up going to the 11th floor, where he finds the secret room containing the Buddha and sees from the security TV that Gillian has arrived. He hides in the secret room and listens, while Paris, as Laszlo, finalizes his arrangement with her, saying that she'll get the formula when the Buddha has been authenticated. Gillian gets upset and wants to cancel the deal, but Paris, as Laszlo explains, that he has a plan. He'll tell the UPR people that Dunson stole the formula, and then they can make their trade in peace. Gillian agrees as Dunson silently fumes. Returning to the car, Dunson confirms to Jim that he was right about everything. Jim returns his gun and tells him to attend the UPR meeting, telling him to take care of business. The IMF listen in from their room below as Dunson arrives for the meeting, with Laszlo opening the safe. which is empty, to everyone's surprise except Dunson. Laszlo and Dunson quickly turn on each other as expected, with Dunson demanding that Laszlo open the secret room. But of course he can't, and Dunson shoots him. The UPR dudes then demand that Dunson open it, but of course he can't either. A second gunshot is heard as the room empties, and Barney takes a look at Laszlo's tumbler, deducing the security measure being the extra latch turn. Of course he's right, and the mission is accomplished. I'm going to give this episode a grade of A-. It's better than I remember in terms of a story. That's pretty consistent with what we have seen with season 4 so far. We've had some pretty good quality stories so far in this season. And the focus has really been on having good stories that kind of play out and kind of really keep the viewer occupied, I feel. They've done a very, very good job of that. This is a really, really great premise for an episode. It's based on the idea, as I think is said more than once, people see what they expect to see, right? If the entire premise, according to the Mission Impossible dossier, was an idea that one of the writers had, that, you know, what if you had an apartment building like that, and the elevator, you know, instead of taking you to the 11th floor, if it said it took you to the 12th floor, but you were actually on the 11th, how would you know? You really wouldn't know, right? And you know, that's how this episode came to be. Like I said, really, really, really great premise, and befitting, I think, the genre of the show, the premise of the show, that this is a really, really, really difficult, impossible mission to pull off, and the IMF is able to do it, but it takes quite a bit of doing. What else is good about this episode? Jason Evers, the unqualified MVP at all levels. I mentioned before, we saw him last season in The Mind of Stefan Miklos, and we'll see him again, I think at least once in every season. I know he's in season 6 and season 7. He's probably in a season 5 episode that I can't place right now. He may be, he may not be. But anytime he's on the show, you've got a really, really, really good episode. He's just a perfect fit for this show as an antagonist. Also good, Anne Francis as Gillian or Jillian, another good one-off agent. Again, very much like some of the other ladies who have appeared, other than Lee Merriweather, who've been kind of these one-off agents. I buy her in her role as this kind of, as you know, as an art dealer / agent. You know, she fits the role, and I think she pulls it off really, really well. Again, do I see her as being kind of like a full-time agent? No, I really don't. I don't know quite what it is, and again, I could be wrong, as I might have been wrong about some of the other ladies who we've seen. It really does show, and it's a testament, really, to the versatility of Barbara Bain. I haven't brought Barbara Bain up much, if at all, during the discussions of the episodes of this season. But in this one, I thought to myself, you know, I can totally see Barbara pulling off, you know, this particular role. The one that Anne Francis plays here, I think she would have been really, really good at it. You know, her versatility was really amazing. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And that's why everybody pretty much agrees universally that she was the best female agent on the show. And I really can't disagree with that. I'm a little partial to Jane Badler in the revival, but again, that's no knock against Barbara Bain whatsoever. The reason I kind of give this one an A- is for a couple of small things. James Patterson, just to kind of continue with the guest stars, I remember commenting in the system from last season, the episode there. And in that one, I remember saying that, boy, this guy is really a downer. Again, something about just the way his acting is, it does kind of give off that vibe. But it's not so bad here. It really isn't. It's a little bit more acceptable than it was in the other one. Here he does seem kind of a little bit of, kind of standoffish, disinterested, kind of devil may care. And that's okay. It works in this episode. It really didn't in that other one, where he, as a casino boss, you would expect him to be a little bit more lively and animated. And in that one, he was completely a fish out of water. Here, he's fine. So he's okay there. The thing that really bothered me about this episode, I shouldn't say really bothered me, but it did bother me. As I mentioned, it's a great premise for an episode. But the fact that the IMF is able to pull this one off kind of belies credulity a little bit. More than a little bit, I would say. If they're able to basically duplicate an entire apartment, and you could say, look, it's a building, all of the apartments are probably the same or very, very similar. Yeah, okay, I buy that. I'm sure that the walls and the paneling and the paint and all of that kind of stuff and the layout is basically the same. But in terms of essentially duplicating the furniture and especially all of these objects of art and that sort of thing, really? They're able to do that at that level? I guess really kind of the only saving grace, as I thought about it, was that the only person other than the IMF who actually enters the apartment on the 11th floor is Dunson. And that is during that one scene where he kind of goes there and sees the secret room that the IMF has set up. And you could argue that, Dunson's not really that interested in the art. All he sees is like, oh yeah, there's all these little statues. And of course, somebody like Laszlo, who is an art aficionado, would probably be able to tell the difference and notice that, no, that's not right and that's not right. He probably doesn't really pay that much attention to that. So the IMF just has to get the major details set out. And so from that standpoint, I guess it's okay. But it does kind of stick in my craw a little bit that the IMF is able to, they have that much to be able to bring to bear for a mission that it almost seems a little bit unfair. And, when the IMF is able to tilt the playing field, this time they're not tilting it too much, but it is a little bit tilted that they're able to do this much. As a final note, I forgot to mention with regards to the good, I love the work of Willie and Erickson actually using what I guess is a laser or some kind of a torch, really, really powerful torch, that they're actually able to get through the concrete or whatever the roof is made of, so that they can put down a false wall for Barney to hide behind. Visually, that looks really, really great. But again, it kind of goes back into what I just said in terms of, if they have that level of resources, gosh, I don't think they would have had to go to even this much extent to be able to pull it off. Unlimited resources means, nothing should be impossible, to coin a phrase in a sense. Anyway, I hope my point is made about that. A couple of those things kind of just really, really highlighted the fact that the playing field is really, really tilted here. Anyway, that's my review for this one. Thank you as always for watching. I appreciate it. Please like this video, please subscribe to my channel, and please leave your comments, and I will see you next time.